Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Asbury. We're really glad to have you here today, as always. If you would take a moment and look at the end of the chair at the aisle, you'll find a red pad there. We'd like for you to fill out your name and any information you'd like to share with us so we'll know you were here. If you would like to get emails and information about what's going on at the church, please put your email address there and we'll be happy to put you on our email list and then pass it on to others in the row. If you plan to attend Asbury and you're visiting and don't have a name tag, we would be happy to order one for you. So if you would just print your name on the name tag board, which is in the main hall, we'll get one ordered. You're also invited, this is pretty exciting if you have a sweet tooth. Our coffee hour today is very special. It's held in the social hall, and after the service, we want you to be there because it's going to be our first women's dessert contest. Yes, exactly. After the judging is complete, everybody gets to dig in and taste all the homemade goodies. Also, you'll be able to learn about all the programs and things going on at Asbury. There's a place at the back of the social hall called the Connection Corner, and the people there can tell you about the different programs and help introduce you to other members of Asbury. While you're there, if you are interested in study opportunities that are going to be happening at the church in the coming year, we would really like your input. We've got some information posted around the church, also in our newsletter and at the Connection Corner. There's going to be information on several different study ideas for upcoming church year. And what we're trying to get is a poll of what you would like to study. And you can sign up for more than one, and then what's going to happen is they'll look at the ones that have the most interest and then choose those study, that will be the ideas that will be used for the study programs. Also, if you would be interested in being a study facilitator, we would love to hear from you about that. Please check out our monthly newsletter. You'll find it online at www.asburymemorial.org, or you can pick up a hard copy in the North Annex. If you're looking for a church home, we would love to have you be part of ours. We offer classes 3 times a year, and the next one will be starting in October. All you have to do is contact the church office and ask for Candace Jenkins, and she'll get you signed up. And now we have a special announcement from the fabulous Ray Ellis.
Thank you. You have announcements from Ray Ellis. I don't know about the fabulous part. Movie night, August 17th. We'll be watching the Hugh Jackman film of P.T. Barnum, The Greatest Showman. It's a wonderful show. It's a perfect movie for Asbury. So bring chips or desserts to share. We'll have hamburgers for you. Bring your comfy chairs, and that will start. Dinner will start. The hamburgers will start at 6:30. The movie will start at 7. August 17th, so put that on your calendar. Just to tag on to what Sandy was saying about this afternoon, the desserts are ready to go. We have 3 judges. We have 2 of the judges in here. If they would stand, one is Nick Deffley in the back, and John Mason in the back, and Bill Anderson is in the back there. Come out, Bill, just raise your hand. So, any bribes will go toward the elevator fund, if you would like that, so help yourself and get that going. So after the service, go out and show some love to Iman Ibrahim after the service, and then come into the social hall. We won't start eating until a lot of people have gotten in there so you can see all the presentation, because one of the contests is best presentation, and there's some pretty cool stuff in there. So come for that one. Gentlemen, your turn is next. August 12th. Is the 2nd annual men's cake baking contest. So come on, we have 15 desserts in there. We need to match that. Email me, RLS, you can just call the office and get my email by Friday, August 10th with what you're going to be baking for us. And we need to have lots of competition on that one. So that's August 12th. It's the men's bake baking contest. August 17th is movie night for The Greatest Showman. Thanks a lot.
This summer is special for children because we're having special guest speakers during Children's Hour. So at this time, any children 3 years old through 6th grade are invited to head this way and go to Children's Church. now, if you would at this time, please double check and make sure your cell phone or any other electronic devices are turned off. Thank you for being here today, and we hope you have a meaningful worship experience.
Good morning. It is so good to see all of your smiling faces this morning. Will you please stand and let's say together our call to worship. We come into your presence, O God, as a community of faith, proud of our venturing heritage. Abraham set out to find a new land. Abraham had heard God's voice and set out confidently into the unknown. Help us to have Abraham's venturing spirit. Help us to reach out to others and to get to know all of God's children, remembering that God is love and that God is with us. We're going to read from the Psalter this morning, Psalm 23. If you will turn there, and follow along and respond. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. The Lord lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, restores my life, leads me in right paths for the sake of the Lord's name. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord as long as I live.
And I sing because I'm happy. And I sing because I'm free. He's on the sparrow. And I know. Yes, I know. Yes, I know. He watches over me.
Well, we come to the part of our service that is our time of silent prayer. It's a very special time for each of us to offer our own individual and personal prayer of thanks and our needs and petitions to God. After a few moments of our praying our silent prayers, I will add a prayer. And this morning's congregational prayer is a written prayer that was originally written in Arabic in an African Fellowship Christian church in Turkey. It's written as an elaboration of the Lord's Prayer, so it kind of elaborates on the different parts of the Lord's Prayer. And then we will conclude our prayer time with all of our voices and the Lord's Prayer that is in your bulletin. So let us begin our silent time of prayer. Will you pray with me? Loving God, our Father who art in heaven, you are here. You are in Istanbul. You are in our homes, our flats, our hotels. You are within us and with us and in our homes. You are in Africa, Europe, Asia, Australia, and the Americas, in Yugoslavia and Russia, in small towns and sprawling cities. You are with the hungry and the dying children in Somalia. You are also in Liberia and Bosnia, Ethiopia, Sri Lanka, Kuwait, and Iraq. Hallowed be thy name. Hallowed be in the memory of Paul of Tarsus, Martin Luther King Jr., Bishop Shanahan in Nigeria, Uganda, Dr. Ida Scudder of India, Florence Nightingale, David Livingstone of Africa, and in the hallowed memories of our parents and grandparents who taught us in our faith. And hallowed in the lives of Desmond Tutu of South Africa, Billy Graham of the U.S., Mother Teresa of Bombay. Thy kingdom come. A kingdom without police harassment, without accidents, without soldiers, without murder, without crime. A kingdom of freedom and justice. A kingdom with no borders and only one language. A kingdom with God prevailing and equal rights, and where equal rights flourish. A kingdom with one family, one faith, one God. A kingdom with harmony between humans and nature. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. In a creation free from pollution, with clean air, clean water, and safe food, in our homes and in our lives, with hope and faith in God's will that our world will be free of war, hunger, poverty, violence, and fear. Give us this day our daily bread, the bread of compassion in word and deed, the bread of protection from evil and injury, and guidance in the way we go. Give us the bread of goodness and prosperity to share with others to bring them to God, the bread of patience and endurance, the bread of unity to make us one nation, one people, one destiny, one hope. And forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Forgive our selfishness and our greed, our unfaithfulness and our pride, that you will treat us as we treat others. Help us to forgive and give us the grace to forgive and let go. Help us to fulfill our debts. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. The temptation of self-righteousness, the temptations of vengeance. Keep us away from the occasions of sin. Keep us from false use of our tongues and from unnecessarily opening our mouths. Keep us also from inappropriate silence. Save us from the evils of starvation, war, and all injustice. And help us to do good to our neighbor as we would have God do to us. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. For thine is a kingdom of the merciful, where there is love, not hate, peace, not war. For thine is a kingdom without pain, hunger, or sorrow. For thine is a kingdom where there is food without money. For thine is a kingdom where no one would be unemployed. For thine is a kingdom where man and every woman live in equality. For thine is a kingdom where all creatures respect each other, living in harmony and life eternal. For thine is a kingdom where God has the power and the control, where he has created us with the power to choose good, where thine is the glory, not ours, but thine, forever and ever. For thine is the kingdom where the words you taught us to say together have meaning to all. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever.
His eyes hold a sparrow, and I know he watches me.
Speaker this morning is Imam Ibrahim Abdul-Malik, and he's a man who ministers and serves in the Muslim community here in Savannah. I think a lot of you already know him and have seen his smiling face. He has a wonderful smile. But he also reaches out to his non-Muslim neighbors in an effort to educate and provide information that the rest of us might need to know about his faith and his way of life. He was born and raised in Virginia and relocated when he was very young to Hilton Head, South Carolina, and where he met his lovely wife. And I'm going to try your name, Mumtahana. Did I mess it up too bad? And I know you all want to speak to her today, too, as well. He has served in a variety of capacities in the Islamic faith, including many educational efforts, interfaith dialogue, social events, fundraising. And alongside of his faith life, he has worked for the past 40 years in the hospitality industry. So you could say that Ibrahim has worn a lot of different hats, known a lot of different kinds of people and personalities, so he should be able to endure us here maybe at Asbury as well. I've been told that he and his wife have 2 adopted children, correct me if I'm wrong, 1 biological child, and the last I heard was 6 grandchildren. Is that right? How many? Oh, 7. See, I'm not up to date at all. He works in Hilton Head. And we're going to sing a hymn now, but just in a moment, we look forward to him coming and speaking to us and sharing more with us about himself and his faith. But first, let's stand and sing together hymn number 408, The Gift of Love.
I begin with the name of God, the merciful benefactor and merciful redeemer. We ask for his help. We beg for his forgiveness. Our faith and reliance is on him, who is mighty and sublime. And I seek refuge with him from all straying. I openly witness that there is nothing worthy of worship except the one creator, maker, molder of everything that exists, having neither partner nor associate, nothing like unto nor comparable to his being. I further witness that Muhammad, the prayers and peace forever be upon him, of 1450 years ago, the flesh and blood human being, just like every one of us, is the messenger of God and his devoted servant. And honorable people, I greet you with the salutations of peace, the greetings of all the prophets from Abraham to Muhammad, which really serves as a reminder that we all have an obligation to be peace seekers. In the biblical text, John and Luke, it is recorded that Christ Jesus, alayhi salam, he greeted his disciples the very same way. And he came into their presence and he said to them, and again this was in the English language, it is written, and he said to his disciples, peace be unto you. Now, if that had been in Arabic, this is what he would have said. He would have simply said, Assalamu alaikum. Last week we had an opportunity to have a brief moment of visitation here at the service, and we had Reverend Richard Allen, who led the service, or did the sermon at least, and he said to the congregation that they must be certain to tell Billy, when he got back off of vacation, that his was the largest audience that they had in most recent history. So I want you all to make sure that you tell Billy that Brother Ibrahim had the second largest in most recent history. Now, most of you probably are familiar with our predecessor, Imam Majid Fahim Ali. May his soul rest in peace, and may God grant him forgiveness and a high station in paradise. A very cool, poised, charismatic, scholarly individual. He graduated from Savannah State. I think he was magna cum laude in his class. Top of his class. I was chosen to follow him up. I was a segment in my educational class that made the top look good. So God has a sense of humor, yes? After I got somewhat situated in my new task, we had this bright idea that we would have a program. So I started reaching out to some of Imam Majid's associates. I called Father Willoughby. Father Willoughby was on a 4-week sabbatical. So then I reached out to Reverend William Stevens. And his recording said, I'm going to be away for a month, I'm on vacation. Then I reached out to Rabbi Haas. And I believe he was on maternity leave. And I don't know, I mean, the wife was having the baby, but he was on maternity leave. So I said to myself, I need to get some of that. A whole month off. And then I reached out to Billy. And Billy had something like the whole summer off. And I'm saying, man, Billy has got it going on. Billy is the man. I'm just getting started, and I'm thinking I could really use some of that. Because some of these folks that I'm dealing with, it's just wearing me out. So I'm trying to figure out, how does he pull it off? We were on a tree planting, no gun violence ceremony together last fall. And this was about the third time that I had a chance to work with Billy on interfaith type of activities. We exchanged niceties, and the next thing he said to me is, would you preach for me this summer? So that's how he gets it done. And I said to myself, I didn't say it to him, I said to myself, I'll do it as long as I don't have to do it solo. I am thankful to the congregation and for Reverend Pastor Billy for the invitation to be here to fellowship with you all and to simply share a few thoughts. I'm further thankful for the opportunity to be here to really just kind of spend some time. Spending time together provides us with an opportunity to get to know each other. And I don't need to tell any of you, but we can certainly use some social ambassadors, community ambassadors, and human ambassadors right about now. And how cool would it be, or how cool is it, when we can sincerely advocate for each other, which means that I can advocate for you and you can advocate for me in each other's absence. How cool would that be? And we do this simply because we realize that we're all just genuinely good people. I'd like to share something with you from my Quran. يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم كبير. Ms. Purvis, could you translate that for me, please? O mankind, O people, we have created you from a male and a female, and then allowed you to evolve into nations and tribes so that you may get to know each other, become hospitable, and treat each other with respect. The noblest of you, the most honorable of you, in the sight of Almighty God, is he who is best in his conduct, he who is most regardful. If I may, I'm going to take 30 seconds to share some things with you that may help you understand or know us better. And I think it all comes down to a difference in language. I think language kind of separates us. We're going to make an attempt to take 30 seconds and remove some of those barriers. When you hear me say Allah, That simply means God. If you hear me use the term al-Islam, that simply means to submit my will to do God's will. If you hear me use the word jihad, that simply means that one exerts himself in a struggle towards excellence in every endeavor in his life, everything. If you should hear the word Muslim in our conversation today, it means peacemaker. And when I say inshallah, maybe you heard that? That means if God be willing. Abraham, father of many and a model for all. I want to start off with some territory that we are probably all familiar with, very familiar territory, and then we might go into some uncharted terrain. If I go too far from this podium, I'm in trouble. Get me back over here. My wife has a tendency to tell me, Ibrahim, you're too philosophical. Keep it simple. But my hope is that I will give you something that will help expand your thinking. Something that warms your heart, stirs your soul, and ultimately challenges you. In the Genesis, chapter 17, the first verse, conversation is taking place between Abraham and his Lord. And it reads, not verbatim, but generally speaking, this is what it conveyed. I am the Lord thy God, walk before me and be perfect. I will make my covenant between thee and grant you abundance. I will multiply you exceedingly. This is what God says to Abraham. Abraham fell on his face and talked with God, and God talked with him. My covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be the father of many nations. And what happens next? A slight transformation takes place. Abram then becomes Abraham. He had a name change. Now, if there was a choir up here, I'd be preaching to the choir with what I'm about to say. Abraham is the common progenitor of the major faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Al-Islam. But is it possible that Abraham might be the father of some nations outside of the big three? Not everyone in China is classified as a Muslim, a Christian, or a Jew. But there's a whole lot of Chinese folks on the planet. Not everyone in India is classified as a Muslim, a Christian, or a Jew. But again, there are a whole lot of folk in India. And what about the Aboriginal people of Australia? And what about the indigenous people of North and South America that do not fall in the classification of Jew, Christian, or Muslim? We are further told in the Genesis that thy seed will be numbered as the stars in the heaven and the sand on the seashore. Has anyone been able to number the stars? Or do you have any idea how much sand there might be on Tybee Beach? So what does this tell us? Papa was a rolling stone. wherever he laid his hat was his home, in a very good way. Now again, that's just something to think about. When we examine the scriptural revelation or the scriptural history, the Jewish people, they trace their faith through Isaac. The Christian people, they trace their blood faith or their faith line through Isaac. And the Muslim people, they trace their faith line or bloodline through Ismail or Ishmael. And what has been the debate for the last 1,400 years? Who has the birthright? Who gets the inheritance? How many of you have seen children, same parents, and they have this debate? That, and they say, this is my daddy. And they say, no, it's not your daddy, it's my daddy. So how has this debate been going on in the faith communities about whose daddy Ibrahim is? I'm going to settle that debate right here, right now, once and for all. When I was born, I was raised Christian Baptist. So that means that I had my claim to Isaac's bloodline. Now that I'm Muslim, I have my claim through Ismail's bloodline. So guess what? I can claim Ibrahim as my daddy from both sides. But the truth is, none of that makes any difference. If we don't follow the example that our father led as a leader, it makes no difference. I can't claim to have a righteous father, but then have the behavior of the biggest mischief makers on the planet. Abraham may have given the seed, which makes him your father, but the behavior that you're patting yourself behind don't look nothing like Ibrahim or Abraham. So we're going to have to do a DNA test. We have a case of mistaken identity. So we do the DNA test, paper come back, and we find out Abraham is not your father. Sounds like, what was that guy that does that? Morning Republic, yeah. Ibrahim is not your daddy. Again, may I share something with you from the Quran? Inna Ibrahim kana ummatan qanitan lillahi hanifan wa lam yakuna min al-mushrikeen. Can you translate that for me, sir? It says very generally in English language that Ibrahim was indeed a model, devoutly obedient to Almighty God, upright in his nature, true in faith, and he never associated anything in the worship of his God. The Genesis says, as we mentioned earlier, I am the Lord thy God, walk before me and be perfect. Be perfect in your obedience, perfect in your regardfulness, perfect in your modeling and your example, perfect in your worship. And if you make a mistake, perfect in your repentance, and perfect in your intent. And we know that Ibrahim was tried and he was tested. He made a prayer He wanted to have a righteous offspring. And he was given news of a son that would be gentle, forbearing, the apple of his eye, good manners, respectful, handsome, who loves his mama. And I will share this with you. I don't know of anything that is more tender than a mother's love. So right there is the time that this son of his gets to the point where he becomes somewhat useful. He comes to him and he says to him, I have seen in a vision that I am to sacrifice you. What say you? And the response from his son was, Daddy, just do what you got to do. You will find me, inshallah, God willing, one of patience, perseverance, and steadfastness. And oh, my, have the times have changed. Because I will share with you, I have one of those. In fact, I have two of them. Two of those boys that are the apple of my eye. You know, well-mannered, respectful, handsome. You know, the apple don't fall too far from the tree, you know? And they love their mama. And I will come to my youngest who lives with me right now, and I said, I need you to do something for me. And in his same gentleness, he said, well, I don't think I feel like doing that right now. You know, boss man. He calls me boss man. Well, I'm not feeling that right today, boss man. My, have the times have changed. But they both submitted. And he put him down on his forehead on the altar, and he was about to sacrifice him. And they called out, oh, Ibrahim, you have already fulfilled the vision. I don't need you to sacrifice your son. I just wanted to know if you are willing to do it. I just needed to know if you had the desire to simply do what I asked you to do. If faced with that same scenario, the same exact situation, how would we stack up? If you were given the same exact test, would you pass or would you fail? I don't have to tell you this. Abraham's resume speaks for itself. But dear beloved people, what is your resume going to say? My Ismail is fill in the blank. Your Isaac is fill in the blank. And to please God, would you be willing to sacrifice it? Now, metaphorically speaking, every one of us probably have one or two Isaacs or one or two Ismails. Are we willing to do as our father Ibrahim was willing to do? Coming up, my grandparents, when I was a young kid, used to go to the country, visit my grandmama and granddaddy, and the first thing they do is they take you to church. I didn't want to go to church, but I was a good kid. I did what they asked me to do. But they used to sing a song, and I'm not going to sing, but I'll share with you the lyric of that song. The lyric of that song was, "Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. If it's good enough for Abraham, it's good enough for me." And when my grandparents were singing this song, I will tell you, I knew very little about Abraham. Had no real knowledge of him. But I thought the song was pretty cool. But then I came to know that because he was perfect in his obedience to God, and when it came down to doing God's will, he had zero reservations. He was willing to give up everything. And because of that, he became the father of many and a model for us all. Dear beloved people, let us continue to walk in our Father's footsteps. I greet you as I found you with peace. Assalamu alaikum.
If our elders will come, we will continue to worship God with his tithes and our offerings. Loving God, may these gifts given to these ministries of grace be a blessing to friends and strangers, those like us and those not, those deserving and those not. For in the way the love of God reaches all of God's beloved. Amen.
Let us pray. Our cherished and sustainer, God and Evolver, grant us excellence in this life and excellence in our life to come, our latter existence, and save us from the torment of the fires of sin and disobedience. Do not allow our hearts to deviate after you have guided us aright. Place our foot firm. Grant us from your own presence mercy, for you are the most merciful of all who bestow. Most certainly, my prayer, my sacrifice, my services, my life and my death are all for Almighty God. No partner has he, and this am I commanded, and I am the first of those who surrender to his will. Amen.